Hello, I'm Kellen with Group 12, along with Chris, Kaylin, Levi, and Carrie, and today our group will be going over the various impacts of global aluminum and steel production. To start today, we will begin going over the main three topics of our project, which we found to be carbon neutral, producers, and cost drivers. We'll be going over various news and statistics that we found and how they tie into each other, how they affect the world as well as local communities, what implications they've had geopolitically, and what actions need to be taken by companies within this market. We will see how countries are affected by different policies that are put into place, how aluminum and steel production affects the environment and pollution, and what countries are the highest cost drivers as well as suppliers in this market, and much, much more. With that being said, we're going to move on to Levi with our cost drivers analysis.
I'm Levi. I'm going to look at some of the cost drivers and how they affect the steel and aluminum production around the world. So, first of all, the definition of cost drivers, where you're looking at this, is the factors that directly influence the cost of an activity or operation within a business. So, obviously, this looks at three main things that we found: tariffs, supply and demand, and producers' impact. So, the first one being tariffs. So, with the new 2025 Trump administration's tariffs that they put down, U.S. steel suppliers are increasing their prices as we continue to move forward throughout the year. This affects the quantity they have on hand, which can affect how they choose to price and their steel and things like that, and if they want to front load a lot of their production and buying, and how much they want to have on hand. Second, you can look at supply and demand. As this continues to increase, as we go into the future, and will continue to increase as we move forward. This affects prices as now suppliers have the upper hand they'll continue to gain the upper hand as the demand increases. Third, we can look at the producer's impact. Companies like China have a huge influence on how steel goes around the world, as they produce about half the world's supply of steel. So whenever a lot of the steel production is centralized to one country, they have a huge upper hand in how they affect how the prices and how much they want to charge and for the trade and move around of steel and aluminum. So China has a huge influence, and as we continue to move forward, we'll see how they affect a lot more and things like that.
Hi, I'm Carrie, and the next impact we'll be discussing is carbon neutral. If something is carbon neutral, it means that it is emitting the same amount of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere as it is removing, resulting in a net zero carbon footprint. Steel and aluminum production are major contributors to global greenhouse gas emissions. Steel production accounts for around 7% of global greenhouse gas emissions and emits 3.5 billion tons of carbon per year. Aluminum production also contributes another 2% of global greenhouse gas emissions. But both of these industries are making efforts to reduce their carbon footprint through implementing waste management strategies, recycling, new technologies, grants, and new processes. The government and other regulators are pushing these industries to become carbon neutral, or else they will face penalties. Their reputations are also at risk if they do not become more carbon neutral.
Hello, my name is Chris, and the impact we'll be talking about is our producers. Right now, China is the top producer. They produce over 100 million tons of steel, and that steel is being blocked by nations all across the globe. China right now produces about half of our global supply, followed by countries like Japan, the United States, and Russia. How this is important is because China has almost monopolistic industry over steel and can cause increases in cost. It will also cause increase in production. How this will impact our daily lives is our cars, houses, and manufacturing will get more expensive as the steel prices increase and our supply shrinks.
Hello, I'm Keelan. I'm going to be talking about actions companies can take. So, one of the most impactful actions companies in the steel and aluminum industry can take right now is adopting low carbon production technologies. For steel, this means shifting from traditional blast furnaces to electric arc furnaces, which use recycled scrap and renewable energy instead of coal. For aluminum, innovations like inert anode technology eliminate carbon anodes, significantly cutting emissions. These changes help companies meet carbon neutrality goals and reduce long-term energy costs. More importantly, they prepare producers for stricter environmental regulations and make them more competitive in a market that's rapidly moving towards sustainability. The second key action is optimizing the use of recycled materials and building circular supply chains. Instead of relying on new raw material extraction, which can be expensive and unsustainable, companies can reduce costs and emissions by using more recycled steel and aluminum. This means investing in better recycling infrastructure and forming partnerships across the supply chains, from suppliers to consumers, to keep materials in use for as long as possible. Together, these two strategies, cleaner production methods and smarter material use, both support environmental goals and business resilience, which is exactly what the industry needs right now.
Based off what we have all gone over, you can see how companies find a struggle to maintain carbon neutrality while also making a fair profit. With massive producers such as China holding most of the market share, it is hard for domestic and other non-domestic businesses to stay in competition while also being carbon neutral. With the new implementation of tariffs driving the prices higher for aluminum and steel, it creates a nationwide worry for future businesses as steel demand is projected to at least increase by 3% this year alone. While companies strive for better competition, this only makes the struggle for being carbon neutral that much worse. With the industry emitting 3.5 tons of CO2 each year, this makes many worry for the future of the Earth overall. As the market evolves, companies that prioritize sustainability and carbon neutral initiatives will be the ones leading these industries.